What if AI had to decide who gets to have children and who doesn't? Today's debate is brutal. Should poor people be allowed to have kids? We asked the most advanced AIs in the world to argue both sides, coldly, logically, without emotion. One said yes, it's a basic human right. The other said no. Poverty is a cycle we must break at the source. After the debate, we scored both arguments using GPT-4, DeepSeek, and Claude Sonnet, and the winner was clear. Stick around and see who the machines chose and why.
The basic right to have children belongs to everyone, no matter how much money they have. This right is a key part of being human, of being free, and of living with dignity. Taking this right away from people just because they are poor would mean we are saying some people are worth less than others. That is wrong. Every person should be able to choose if they want to start a family.
Our main goal should be to stop children from suffering when we can see it coming. Children born to very poor parents are very likely to not have enough food, good doctors, or good schools. They are often stuck in a cycle of poverty that they cannot escape. Society should try to stop this kind of certain suffering for new children. We also need to think about the stress this puts on everyone else when more people are born into poverty.
If we let the government decide who is too poor to have children, that's a dangerous path. It would be very hard to set a fair rule for who is too poor. This kind of power could easily be used unfairly against certain groups of people. Everyone has control over their own body and their own life choices. This includes deciding whether to have children, and it doesn't matter how much money they have.
The right to choose must be seen alongside the duty to not cause harm, especially to a child who cannot choose for themselves. If choosing to have a child means that child will almost certainly live a life of great difficulty and very few chances because of extreme poverty, then society should think about whether it's right to let that happen. If too many people have children they cannot support, it can also hurt the whole economy and make life harder for everyone.
Saying that we should stop poor people from having children because they might suffer is a risky idea. We can't perfectly predict how someone's life will turn out. It also takes our attention away from the real problems, the things that cause poverty in the first place. We need to fix those things, like making sure there are good jobs, good schools, and healthcare for everyone. We should not be stopping people from having basic human rights. Many people who grew up poor have lived good lives and given a lot to the world.
Working to end poverty is important, but it takes a long time. It doesn't change the fact that right now, children born into very poor families suffer. This isn't about perfectly predicting every single life. It's about looking at the very high chance of harm when a child is born into extreme poverty. If we let people have children who they cannot feed or house, it just keeps the cycle of hardship going. This costs society a lot and can stop the whole country from moving forward. It's about managing our resources well and trying to lessen harm for everyone.
The idea of managing resources by stopping poor people from having children sounds like old bad ideas, where some people were thought of as less fit to have children. This kind of thinking is dangerous because it says that some people are not as valuable because they are poor. Every person deserves respect and has the right to have a family if they choose. Society should help all families and children, no matter how much money they started with. We should not be trying to stop them from existing.
The aim is not to say that poor people are worth less. The aim is to make sure that any new child has a basic chance for a decent life and that society can keep working properly. If parents truly cannot provide the very basics for a child because they are stuck in deep poverty, then having a child means that child will likely suffer a lot. And this also puts a big strain on everyone else. This is not a judgment on the parents' value as people. It's a realistic look at what will probably happen to the child and to society. Not thinking about these results is like ignoring a problem we know is there.
But who gets to decide what deep poverty means for this kind of rule? Who draws the line? If we let the government stop people from having children because they are poor, this opens a door for the government to control other very personal choices. It could lead to judging people not just on money, but on health or how smart they are. The freedom to make your own family is a basic human right. Society's job is to help people get out of poverty, not to tell them they can't have children.
This isn't about controlling every personal choice. It's about preventing very clear and serious harm to a child when parents have no realistic way to give that child basic things like food, shelter, and safety. If a child is almost certain to face a life of constant, severe struggle because of extreme poverty that the parents cannot escape, it is not responsible for society to ignore that. We try to protect children from harm after they are born. It is logical to also think about preventing them from being born into a situation where severe harm is almost guaranteed. This is about protecting that new life from predictable suffering.
But who has the power to say for sure that a child's life will only be severe suffering, or to guess how their whole life will go? Many people born into very difficult situations have found happiness and made important contributions to the world. Taking away the choice to have children from people in poverty is like saying their lives, and the lives of any children they might have, are not as important. The real enemy here is poverty itself, not the existence of families in poverty.
The issue is not about judging how much a life is worth. It is about the very high probability of constant hardship and lack of basic needs. When a child is born and cannot get enough food to eat, or proper medical help, or a safe place to live, that is undeniable harm. Society already has rules and services to try and stop parents from harming their children once they are born. Thinking about whether to prevent a child from being born into a situation where such harm is almost unavoidable is a difficult but logical next step if we truly want to reduce overall suffering in the world.
This path still leads us to judging people based on how much money they have. If we decide that poor people cannot have children, what is the next step? Will we then say that people with certain long-term health issues cannot have children? Or people who do not score high enough on some kind of intelligence test? The basic freedom to choose to have a family is too important. We cannot let governments start making these kinds of rules and decisions for people. The correct approach is to fix the unfair systems in society that keep people poor and to support everyone's right to choose.
The specific concern here is extreme lack of money that directly stops a child from being able to survive and grow in a healthy way. It is not about judging other personal qualities or traits. If a society is truly unable to lift a part of its population out of such extreme and hopeless poverty in the near future, then allowing more children to be born into that exact same inescapable situation only creates more suffering for those new children. It becomes a question of balancing the desire of individuals to have children with the practical ability to care for those children without sentencing them to a life of severe and constant want from their very first day.
The supporter who argued that poor people should be allowed to have children scored an 84. Opponent who argued against it scored 65. The machines have spoken. According to pure logic, the right to have children should remain universal, no matter your wealth. But what do you think? Drop your judgment in the comments, because in the end, humans are still ruling. Yet,